Alright guys, the Azure update just got a massive reveal, including Azure's new moveset, a potential aberrant skin, and much more. Let's get into it. Finally, after a while, we now have our first proper look into the next major killer in Forsaken, which is Azure, with a sneak peek of how he might actually play, which was posted by Voxov in the Discord, from the survivor's perspective. From what we know so far, Azure is actually much further along in development than people might think. The devs have already finished most of the core functionality, meaning that the mechanics and overall moveset are basically done. At this point, the main focus is on finishing on Azure's assets. So this isn't just a concept anymore. It's something that's actually close to being added into the game. And based on the sneak peek, Azure's moveset looks completely different compared to what we've seen in Forsaken so far. One of the first things we can see is something that looks like a vine detector. Azure can place down a vine on the map, and it seems like it could act as some sort of trap or detection system. If a survivor interacts with it, something is likely triggered, although we don't know what happens yet. But even from that alone, you could already tell this killer is going to be more about controlling space rather than just chasing players directly. Then there are the pea shooters, which are currently using temporary Plants v Zombies assets as placeholders. These act like mini turrets that Azure can place around the map. They stay inactive until they detect something, and once they do, they start firing at the player, and from the footage, they actually deal damage pretty quickly if you're caught in range. This completely changes how matches could play out, because now survivors aren't just avoiding the killer, they also have to deal with these placed threats around the map. What's even more interesting is how the counterplay might work. It looks like the vine could be tied into disabling these turrets somehow, meaning survivors might have to interact with it in order to survive from them. If that's the case, this would be one of the first killers in Forsaken that actually forces players to think differently about how they move around the map instead of just looping and running as usual. And that's really the biggest thing here. Azure's kit doesn't look like anything we've seen before. It's not another dash ability or a simple projectile. It's something completely new, and that's something the community has been asking for a long time. On top of that, there was another sneak peek right before the video ends, which seems to look like a new skin for Azure. That could be the Nightshade skin. The image only shows part of the design, but a lot of people believe it's an updated Nightshade skin based on the design. Voxov confirmed that it's not a milestone skin, so it's most likely either Nightshade or another skin entirely. We also found that Speeds actually helped design Azure's moveset, with him mentioning one of the abilities is supposed to be used in ways players wouldn't normally expect, which just adds even more depth to how this killer might play. A lot of people also want to see matching skins with 2-time, since their lore together is one of the main parts of the lore in Forsaken. NKC is making a Jester skin to match with 2-time, which looks amazing. It perfectly resembles the difference between them, with this one being more purple compared to the 2-time Jester skin being mainly blue, with many wanting to see this skin officially in the game, and with Forsaken asking for your Azure skin concepts. It's likely we will see some of these in game. Azure is shaping up to be one of the most important updates Forsaken has had in a while, and according to Voxov, we could be seeing this killer added within the next 1 to 2 months, which means there's still more to come before the release. Are you hyped for Azure? And alongside everything else coming to Forsaken, there's also been interesting discussion around new aberrant skins, and one in particular that people have wanted for a long time might finally be happening. This skin is supposed to be for Sixer, which is being created by Alex is Funny, and it's meant to be a more corrupted version of the classic Sixer. It hasn't been fully revealed yet, but from the sketches we've seen so far, it already looks very different compared to anything currently in the game. The design seems like it takes inspiration from Dignity, with his old design having that corrupted eye-like effect on the right side of Nolly's body that now appears on Sixer's aberrant skin's face. And according to Alex, what we've seen so far isn't even everything, so there's still more to be revealed. Cedrium also made a full body sketch of what this could look like, and that's where things get even more interesting. The face has that same corrupted eye-like appearance, and it gives this skin a much more eerie feel overall. One of the biggest features being talked about is the the idea that this skin could actually shapeshift. If that ends up being true, it could easily be one of the most unique skins in the game, especially with the way Alex rigs this model. It's not going to be chaotic as something like the original flowers, but it could still have some really creative animations, like changing parts of its face or appearance mid-game. So it wouldn't be so janky and have this jittery-like feel, but will be more stable. And even though we already have skins like Confused Sixer, this one would definitely stand out and be different compared to it. It's not oversized like the John Doe Aberrant either. It keeps that smaller, classic Robloxian 2.0 style while adding something completely new on top of it. What other Aberrant skins should we get? Isaac has actually asked the community to start sending in their own fan-made skin concepts. Not just for Azure, but for other killers as well. So if you have ever wanted a chance to get your own skin into Forsaken, this is probably the best opportunity you're going to get. And looking at the submissions already, there are some insanely detailed concepts being made. A lot of players are putting in serious effort that genuinely look like they could be sold in the shop. For example, Isaac even responded to a Core Blocks Zombie King concept, which is based on different Core Blocks items from Roblox. The design fits perfectly with the killer and even includes clear references so it doesn't feel random at all. We've also seen concepts like an Ozymandias Doombringer skin, which takes inspiration from multiple Roblox items, but still manages to fit the overall theme of Doombringer. Then there are more creative ideas, like a meadow or ethereal garden Azure skin, which matches the sort of blossom theme we've seen with other skins like Spring 2 Time, making it feel like it belongs in the game. Another fan favorite is the Alice in Wonderland inspired Azure skin, which is based off of Cheshire Cat, which surprisingly works well with this character's design. And then we've even got ideas like Executioner's Dr. Octopus concept for Azure, which looks incredible, but realistically it might not make it into the game due to copyright concerns. It's clear that Forsaken is already preparing heavily for the next update, even if we don't have a confirmed release yet. And with that amount of creativity coming from the community, there's a real chance that some of these skin concepts might make it into the game. Hytoko actually went ahead and asked the community directly on Discord whether players are enjoying the game. The majority of players actually voted no, and that alone says a lot about the current state of the game. So why are people saying this? One of the biggest issues that kept coming up was balance. A lot of players feel like the game has become very unbalanced. If you're experienced enough, you can loop killers pretty easily, and because of that, matches can feel predictable and repetitive rather than intense or challenging. At the same time, the objectives haven't changed either, and the problem now is that players have gotten so good at doing generators as they can be finished in literally seconds now, and with like 8 players in a match, it's so easy. So there's not really any variation anymore and not any difficulty of doing the generators, so it just feels like repeating the same process over and over again. Another major thing people have pointed out is the lack of game modes. This is something that Forsaken has teased before, like with the Double Trouble sneak peek, but we still haven't seen anything fully implemented, and that's where the game feels like it's falling behind. Because if you look at games like Die of Death or even modded Forsaken versions, they already have these different modes and make each match feel different. Like in Die of Death, they have the super scary mode where there's like a big entity on the map that chases everyone, and you have to run away from that and the killer at the same time. As well, they have a whole game mode where everyone is killer and everyone gets to kill everyone, which makes the game more fun compared to just playing the same thing again and again. So having like these random events and other game modes that make the game replayable, it will literally solve this problem quite quickly and bring a lot of players back, and that's exactly what Forsaken needs right now. So Forsaken are locked in fixing up the game for the release of Azure. What else should be added in this update? And subscribe and like the video to get Azure in game quicker.